Hi, and welcome to Lighten It Up with Jennifer Cox. Amy Stokes Waters is a cybersecurity entrepreneur and a little bit of a legend. I try not to fawn over her too much, but I get to talk to her today about her experience of becoming an entrepreneur, the challenges in the industry, or just as a business owner all around. And yeah, Amy's pretty frank and pretty straight shooter, so a few swear words may be heard in this, so just as a pre-warning. Okay, so Amy, I wanted to ask you on this specifically because you, to me, are very different to most people I know, full stop, but definitely most people I know in cybersecurity. There's a tendency, I think, when people get into corporate and professional to behave a certain way and to approach things a certain way. And there's expectations of how things should typically be done. And you never do that. Never, ever, ever. And I love it. I love the shamelessness of it because that's how it should be. I love all the brazen, brassy, like they're all words that I know if they were used against me when I was a child, they all implied that they were bold things. But in this case, I think absolutely the opposite, like the kind of things that for me I needed to see, because I didn't think it was possible to behave like that and be successful, which you are. So it's definitely loosened up my threads a little bit. But I guess what I should start with is the typical question you would start with any of these things. Like, how did it all start for you? Like, how did you end up running your own company and feeling free enough to be like that?
Yeah, I mean, we'll do the short version because that's the whole fucking story in itself. So at school I was super nerdy, super like followed the rules, never got detention, like used to get bullied for being clever, wouldn't say boo to a goose. So I don't really know where the trigger point was, but clearly at some point between like 15 and 20, I just went, oh, fuck this. Literally. This is bullshit.
I couldn't even imagine you being not even, well, there's a rule follower. Like you can know all the rules, but you're the queen of finding the loopholes and ways around it, which in our industry is really important, I think, as well, to understand that, to be able to work around it.
I think that kind of attitude fits well with cybersecurity. I think it's quite a rebellious industry when you look at it, because if you think about like pen testers, they're trying to find the loopholes in what are the rules of the, I don't know, application or code or whatever it is they're looking at. So actually, if you think about cyber, probably do fit in quite well. Anyway, but school was really, really quiet, and then just decided to go, whatever. And then when I left uni, I literally spent about, I don't know, 3 or 4 days messaging all of my mum's friends on LinkedIn going, give us a job. Come on, give me a job. I'm awesome. Give me a fucking job. And one of them eventually turned around and went, yeah, go on then. I was like, really? Cool. Got a job as a project manager. Fuck knows. I would have got a job as a project manager because I hate finishing things. I hate it. Hate finishing
That's
things.
very grown up straight out of school as well, because project manager implies lots of responsibility.
Yes. I'd literally, my mum's a project manager. Well, a program manager. She's a bit more than that. She'll kill me if I just say she's just a project manager. But she does project management, and she was like, oh, you should go into it because you're good at organising things. I was like, yeah, I'm good at organising things, but I'm not good at like finishing things off. I'm like, I'll start organising lots of things, but I don't finish it all. Someone else needs to do the detail. But yeah, I did that for a few years and then got headhunted into sales. For being a gobby bitch, I think was the sentence the sales director used. It works, so I ended up there. And then started working in selling pen testing. Met a bloke who I was a business partner with, and then he was like, should we start a business? And I was like, I don't know, can you just do that? It turns out you can just do that. Like literally anyone can just do it. I'm not saying anyone should do it, but anyone literally can. Like 12 quid, done. So we did that.
You putting that post up about it being 12 quid to start a business and anyone could do it, and I was like, what? I'd never even Googled it before then because I just assumed it was way too complex.
They don't tell you about that at school, do they? No one's like, oh, entrepreneur, that's a pretty good career path. That just gets ignored. It's like, go be a teacher. So yeah, started a business, and then here I am, I guess.
And what I want to, maybe you don't feel this way, right? But to me, I would say, you're very successful. You have a fabulous brand. You're out there, and there's plenty of people following you and connected to you, and really interested in what you do. And as we know, like the cybersecurity industry, tech, like many of the industries like this, are pretty male dominated. Was there a point at which you went, I've cracked it now, I've got it?
Well, I mean, I've got one today where I've got repeat customers coming back in now, which is pretty cool.
Brilliant.
So I had a customer that we worked with last month, and they've come back and been like, right, we liked what you did in London. Can we do it in 7 different countries? I'm like,
Okay.
all right, yeah, yes, we can. I like that. I mean, when I was prepping for this podcast last night, I wrote down some notes for this one, and I was like, yeah, when we started getting inbound leads from abroad, I think I kind of realised at that point, yeah, we're actually doing something pretty unique here, and like, people are hearing about us that's not necessarily from my professional network. I think it's from, just noise generally. We get a lot of referrals in, so that's always a bit of a yes moment. But I mean,
That's where it happens, though. It's through the word of mouth. You do a good job, and it's still the case. Like, and that's definitely working for you. Does it scare you then when things like that happen? When someone goes, 7 other countries they wanted in, and you're thinking it's just little old me. Like, do you panic? I would imagine I would panic.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just, we've got a couple of people working with us now, so it's not just little old me, thankfully, so that's nice. But yeah, no, I don't panic. No, I get really excited. This morning I was like, hey, let's go planning. Let's go cost some stuff up. Let's work out what am I going to get billed by fucking customs to ship shit to Singapore or whatever. But yeah, so we've kind of, yeah, no, it doesn't faze me anymore. I think the first time it did, when I was literally getting on a plane to South Africa by myself, being like, I've never left Europe, really. Oh, I've been to America once, but I mean, that's it. I'm normally like, I go to France by myself. That's fine. Fucking
Yeah.
South Africa. I was like, I'm upside down in South Africa. This is like so far away. And the
Very
farthest
different
from
culturally,
home.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, that was scary. But you kind of just have to go with it. You have to just go with the flow.
And you have a team member in Africa now, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah, Yolanda. Yeah, she works for us down there. So she's based in Joburg, but she's in Kenya for us next week, doing some work in Kenya. So that's what I mean. We keep getting it's like random countries. I said to so I've got a guy that's contracted in to do some sales work for me, and I said, can you go get me another continent this quarter? He was like, what the fuck? I was like, I don't go there. I said, I know most startups are like, can you get me another enterprise client? And I'm like, yeah, we just need another continent. Like, I'll take Asia or Australia, please.
But that's the world's the limit. Like, you take it seriously, I guess, in that sense. Like, or not even the world, the sky's the limit. Isn't that the saying? She gets it wrong. But why limit yourself to only the UK or to Europe, or like you say, even just 2 continents, like, when it's all there for the taking? So when it comes to risks, then would you have, what would be the most outrageous risk you've ever taken for your career? And of course, did it work?
I don't know whether it's necessarily risk. It was when I broke some rules. Kind of. It's just a bit of a story, really. I'll tell you it, and then you can tell me if you think it was a risk. I mean, most of the stuff I do is risky, so I can never work out quite whether it's like, is that a risk, or is that what other people call a risk, or is that just like normal behaviour? But yeah, one time I was working in sales, and I'd literally done none of my number just because I couldn't be asked. I didn't really like what I was selling, and I didn't really like the people that worked there, so I was like, fuck it. Coasted along for a bit, and then I really wanted to go to this cybersecurity, so this Women in Tech conference. I think you went to one of them, actually. Reframe.
Yeah, in London.
That was on in Manchester. This is like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, and I really wanted to go to it. And my boss was like, categorically, you're not fucking going because you don't deserve to go to it. And I was like, okay, cool. Anyway, took a load of pictures, stuck them on LinkedIn, and immediately got phone calls being like, you fuck you doing? So yeah, I guess that was the risk that I took, being like, I'm going anyway. But it did pay off, because when I was there, I went to a talk that actually changed my entire outlook on life.
No way.
I went to go watch Penny Haslam speaking. She used to be on the telly, and now she does motivational speaking and stuff like that. And she talked about her like how to get on at work. So she's got a book out called How to Make Yourself a Little Bit Famous, or Make Yourself a Little Bit Famous.
Oh, I think I remember that one. Yes, I had
Yeah,
that
so
in my
so it's
in my.
not like about it's not about getting on the TV or whatever. I mean, unless that's what you want to do, but it's just about improving your personal profile a bit. I'm sure it's probably the precursor to personal branding before that took off as a massive fucking thing.
Yeah.
But she explained this thing about how you do that, and she said, so your professional life should be, if you look at a pie chart, it should be 50% performance. No, sorry, 25% performance. So
Right.
25% is actually you doing what you're doing.
Okay.
25% is image. How do
Okay.
you look doing it? And 50% is exposure. Who the fuck knows that you're doing it? Who knows that you're doing it? So if you're doing this stuff and you look really good doing it, but no one knows about it.
Do you know when you say it out loud like that, it seems really freaking obvious, like, doesn't it? I hadn't thought of it like that because I would be a head down, get the job done. 95% of it is doing the job, and then the rest of it is head above water, going, "Look at me," but not
No,
nearly enough.
I literally spend all my life going, "Hey, I'm here. Look what I'm doing." And it kind of like, I think I'd kind of already known that stuff before, because when I first started work, my mum said to me, "Send the magic email every week," and I was like, "What's the magic email?" Obviously, and she was like, "The email that you send to your boss." So every time I ever started a new job for the first 6 months, before, or whatever you're in probation at least, always at the end of the week, go, "Here's what I did this week. Here's what I'm going to do next. Here's what I'm going to do next week. What else you need me to do?"
I like that. So you
And
have
then
a running record of all of your
I got
achievements or
it.
your
When you
workload,
get
like
when you get to your probation and they go, "Well, you haven't done X, Y, and Z," you go, "Well, I fucking gave you
every
20
single week.
opportunities
Like,
there, mate, so I don't think so, buddy." Um,
I use a similar tactic actually for annual reviews. So
mm,
I keep a calendar of all the things that I do throughout the year, whether they're work related or not. And then when it comes to annual reviews, I pull them all into one big old long list that's bullet pointed. And, even if I was public speaking on diversity, it was still relative to my role because it's exposure and that exposes the
mhm.
company, yada, yada. So I used to pump all of that into my annual review. Partly I did it for me so that I could look back at them and see the things that I'd done. But there was no way that anyone could dispute that I wasn't good enough for an increase or achieving things if I was putting that in the annual review. And anyone I've ever mentored, I've taught them the same thing. So, but I like that. At least if you do it weekly, then you have something you can collect your record from to put into your annual review as well. Like, cool.
Yeah, I used to just do it I was in probation, and then until my boss was like, "You don't need to send me these emails anymore because I know you know what you're doing now." But at least
Dead.
it gives, because sometimes I think I've got people that are working with me, and I've got no fucking idea what they're doing all day.
True.
I mean,
Fair.
I'm sure they are working and doing things, but
Yeah.
like, stuff is happening. But I'm like, well, I don't know what you're actually doing, and you might be doing loads of stuff that I don't know about.
It's
So
so
yeah,
simple.
but from that, I was like, oh, I don't just need to tell my boss about it. I could just tell other people about it, just like shout into the void and see who's interested. So yeah, I started posting on LinkedIn, and from there, that's where my career kind of really switched trajectory, I think.
Well, I still have yet to come across people who have a similar brand, actually not even remotely similar to you. And you know the way you'll get a lot of people that are doing the same jobs or involved in the same things. Like even in cybersecurity, you'll get the ones who want to share all the training, or the ones who want to share their insights and views on how things should be done, or cover compliance, or they pick a specific thing that they go into. But you actually do a lot of branding without the specifics, which I love. Like you don't go into the nitty gritty details of the ingredients of everything that you do in work. It's always just a little bit vague, but enough that it's perfect marketing, like enough to draw somebody in. Like,
But it's probably big because I don't actually know what the fuck I'm doing.
shit, say it. It works for you though, even if that was true and you're figuring out things on the fly, it clearly works for you. And that kind of creative thinking is something that's going to be important as well if you're adapting to different customers with different backgrounds in different industries. And like what you do isn't just for cybersecurity industry people. Actually it's probably even less so for those as it is for the greater public as such. Like I've seen you work with tons and tons of different clients and tons of different companies. And while your core product is the same, I've seen you adapt it time after time after time and on the fly, which you don't see many companies do, even startups do now. They don't do it fast enough. Speed
Yeah.
is definitely something that you do really, really well, adjusting at speed and staying calm while you do so. Like, do you think because what you do and the way you do it, the flavor of it as such is so different, you're bound to have met people over time who've been skeptical about what you're doing and how you're going to do it. When people do that or tell you, there's no way that's going to work, or that's a shitty idea, like,
Yeah.
how do you deal with that?
I mean, so I do take feedback on board to an extent. I mean, probably at the time I'll look at you like you're a piece of shit and be like, "Fuck you," but I'll internalize it, take it home, and think about it. No, I don't tell people to fuck off, but I do go, really. But yeah, no, when people skeptical or underestimate me, I'm like, okay, cool, that's you, and that's not me. Because I think I always know, I might not always have the knowledge right this second about what exactly it is that I'm doing, but I've usually got the vision. So I hate the term blue sky thinker. Gross. Why did I say that? Edit that out. But yeah, I can see like the big vision. I can see the vision of where I want to go, and I might not necessarily have all the steps to get there. But I think, well, if I've got the vision and I want to be up here, and I only get to here, well, I'm fucking further along than you are. I've not thought about it at all. So so I like to just go out and make shit happen, I guess. So when people underestimate me, depending on how much time I've got available, I'll probably just do it out of spite anyway.
I was just thinking that I find most people that show the skepticism are people who wouldn't have the balls to take the steps themselves. Like it's easy to stand and judge people from a position in which you haven't taken any risks or haven't done that thing that you really love or want to do or exposed yourself really in that kind of it, because it is vulnerable to put yourself out there when you get all these great ideas, and if something does go head over or over backside as such, then you've got to go and move on with it. But
yeah, I've learned to kind of use the fuck ups in my marketing anyway and be like, oh, look at this, I made a mistake, cool.
I love that you do that as well. Like I've fawned and now I realize I'm fawning. I'm going to have to like crop all the fawning out of it. But I like that too. I think it's really important to be able to say what you failed at because it humanizes you. And then for people who are looking for inspiration or having a shitty day where things are failing, they can see that those people that they like and they follow and they enjoy the work that they do also fail and are human too. I think it'll breed inspiration beyond you and your industry and your workload, somewhere else entirely that you won't even know. It'll have made somebody go, well, she fucks up, so
yeah. And I always think I'd rather fail on my own terms than succeed on someone else's.
Yes, I like that. I've got I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch this now and steal all the quotes and put them on the wall. That's something that should be like in that lovely joined writing font and on a kitchen wall somewhere. Says Amy. So people talk a lot about like female entrepreneurs, and there was a lot going on in the news this week, or movement I saw it on LinkedIn about funding for them being pulled and then being given back because we kicked up a riot over it all. But for you as a female entrepreneur specifically, like, have you faced any challenges? Maybe you haven't, but has there been challenges that you've faced that are specific to the fact that you're a woman entrepreneur, or do you think it's just an entrepreneur thing?
I don't know, dealing with that dickhead bloke that I used to run a business with, that was quite specific to being a woman. Yeah, I mean, no, most of the time, I think just being an entrepreneur is fucking hard. Just that in itself, I'm just like, that's difficult. And because I'm not a bloke, I can't tell you if I've experienced something different.
Yeah.
From their perspective, really. I mean, I'm in a group chat with a load of female founders who are all up in arms about this Innovate thing, but I've never gone for funding, so that's not really affected me. So yeah, no, I don't think there's anything particular about being a woman. I mean, like I said, being a business owner's hard. Like I've had to do all the fucking corporation tax and VAT and all the nitty gritty admin fun shit that no one really tells you about when you start a business, and you're like, everyone kind of just expects you to understand, and you get sent spreadsheets by your accountant, and you're like, yep, that looks fine, I guess. I don't fucking know.
No, I remember years ago you used to be able to do a course here if you were setting up your own business. They'd fund it with the local IDA or something, where they teach you how to do all that stuff. And I remember thinking at the time, but sure, surely that's just straightforward. Oh, how naive I was. Like, as an
Yeah.
individual, even doing a tax return here, oh, because in Ireland, I think like when it comes to things like shares and options, you have to file a tax return as an individual and fill in those 1,600 pages of crap. Where I believe in the UK, it's all done through like the payroll system. It's changed now this year. Prior to, I remember the first time I had to do it, and I could have cried. It's like, I don't understand, and I don't want to pay somebody all the money I've just paid to do it, because it's not a lot of money, but it's all my money. But kudos to people to do that bit. And then you're really creative. Like, so how do you do that stuff? Like, how do you knuckle down and get that crappy stuff done when it's not the fun stuff at all? Like, I just want to do the fun stuff and get somebody else to do all that.
I literally outsource it. If it's something that so I can learn. I always think to myself, I can learn anything. If I really put my mind to it, I could learn anything. I could probably sit and learn like coding and shit. I'm just not fucking interested in it. Like, it's not the intellectual capability that stops me from learning it. It's the interest levels that stops me from learning it, which is much like cybersecurity training, and why I've done shit. But the stuff that's boring the stuff that's boring, I just outsource it. I'm like, accounting, I'm not doing it. I just don't care. Well, I mean, I should care. It's probably the bit I should care about the most, but I just don't. I'm just like, I don't want to touch it. Don't ask me about it. And then I've got a very, very good PA who does all of the other admin shit that I don't want to do. Where it's like, can you find out how much it's going to cost to ship this to Israel or fucking I don't know, Zimbabwe or whatever, like random countries. So yeah, all of the admin stuff I've got rid of. So I've basically made my own favourite business, like my own ideal business, which means I do no boring things and I just give them to other people to do, and I just do all the fun stuff.
See, I didn't even know that was possible either. Like, I love that. And is your PA, like, is it a virtual PA or is it a person that comes? I'm just curious because I've heard about these virtual PAs, but I'm like, are they any good?
Yeah, she's a real person. She's my friend's wife. She lives like 20 miles from my house, so we go for lunch. So yeah, she's a real human being. It's pretty good. No, virtual PAs. I'm like, do you mean ChatGPT? Like, is that what you mean? That's what I always think.
They're like real humans, but I realize how daft I sounded. They're real humans, but they could be anywhere in the world, and you'll hire them for X amount of hours a week or whatever.
Yeah,
and
so Dee, I do that with Dee. She does just do a few hours a week. I'll just text her at random times on WhatsApp. That's why I've got a well-being notice on the bottom of my emails that says, this email has been sent at a time that is suitable for me. Please reply at a time that is suitable for you, because I totally appreciate your working hours are not the same as my fucking working hours, because mine are like any time from 5:30 in the morning till about 2:00 in the morning, depending on where I'm going.
I like that. I like those messages on the bottom of the email. I'd be a big believer in that, because there's nothing worse than feeling like you need to respond to somebody. And then escape rooms being what you do. And obviously anyone who didn't know would be thinking like physical rooms, escape rooms, like as we know them, but yours is very different. Let me know, like, tell me how you came up with the idea and how it works without giving away all the secret ingredients, of course.
So I came up with the idea. My friend who's on the board had done something similar, I think, with another company, and he said, I think you could make that better. So I'm not going to name the person that it was or say what company it was, because that would be really mean, in case anyone but yeah, so there was another company out there that was doing it, and they I don't know, he said, can you make this better? And I went, I don't know, tell me what you did. So he did, and I was like, yeah, we can I think we can sort that out, to be honest. So yeah, started doing that. This was when I still had a business partner, so this is before I kind of rebranded to the escape room company. So we did it we created it for an event that this guy was doing. Just like as a one-off thing. It was just like, oh, just make that. Just something to fuck about with, really. But then I was like, it's actually quite a good idea. When I talked to people about it, they were like, oh, that sounds really interesting. So then when my business partner buggered off, I was like, oh shit, because he was doing loads of like pen testing and stuff, which I didn't fancy learning, obviously. So I was like, oh, I've got these escape rooms. Fuck it, I'll just market that. So yeah, I guess that's just kind of just circumstance, I think, rather than it being any kind of orchestrated business strategy.
And you keep them all like it's a kit that you send out to places, which is why it works as a worldwide kind of distribution. Then, really, isn't it?
Yeah, so we can send. Yeah, you send it out. You can send it out as a kit, which you can hire for between a week and a month, and then you just post it back. Although internationally, we have to bill for more than a week because by the time it's fucking got there, it's been a week already. So yeah, that's a fucking nightmare. But anyway, so we send it out. You can run it yourselves. You send you like instructions, clues, solutions, how to reset it, all that kind of thing, and then just send it back. Or the bit that I like doing is going to do like fully hosted events. So we'll turn up and bring all of the stuff with us, and then you get me or another on site. Because I like watching everyone do it because that's the fun bit for me. Like watching everyone get through the puzzles and like struggle and then get their eureka moment when they like open a box or I don't know, log into something. So yeah,
I remember seeing you at UK Cyber Week 23, I think it was. And apart from the fact that your stand was like significantly different and more awesome than every other stand in the place, but it was absolutely thronged with people. You had the lock picking and all of these different kind of activities for people to do. And I had a colleague of mine was there with her kids who came up and had to go at the stand then as well. But it has a great energy and a great vibe around it, which is kind of missing from a lot of the education side of the cybersecurity industry for sure. And by that, I mean not just education in schools, I mean education for anyone who's not the cybersecurity or the security team as such.
I think that excitement's missing for anyone is the cybersecurity team. Like you work in cyber. When was the last time you got excited about clicking on some
exactly like it becomes kind of samey after a while, and once there'll be a new attack or there'll be a new bit of gossip really is what it is when we hear about the attacks. I know the TFL was suffering there yesterday, the day before, and that was interesting. We haven't even got all the details of it yet, but that's kind of as exciting as it can get. So to make it, to kind of breathe new life into it that way, and then because what you do is so different, and some people gatekeep cybersecurity. Do you ever come across it where people are like, well, what you do is really team building and it doesn't belong in cybersecurity? Do you ever get that kind of an attitude from people, and how would you respond to it?
I've had that. I think I've had that attitude about me personally several times when I worked in sales, and I'd have CISOs saying to me, "You're not actually in cyber though, are you?" I was like, "Well, what industry am I in?" They're like, "Sales." I'm like, "But that's not a fucking industry. That is the backbone of every industry. Because if no one's selling the thing in the fucking industry, you haven't got an industry." So yeah, so I have been told by multiple people, you don't actually belong in cyber. You're not actually in cyber. I mean, so I'm like, okay, cool. I just laugh. I just like, okay, that's fine. I just laugh about it. I just think I've been told as a business owner I'm not in cyber. I'm like, well, what am I then? I own a fucking business. There's cyber. It says cyber in the fucking name of it. I don't know what more you want from me, man.
It's true. You get people like I worked obviously for a cyber tech company, and every single employee that's there works in cyber, even if they're not technical. They're working in cyber. They're in the industry creating something.
To be an industry, it can't just be a load of engineers sat in a fucking basement. That's not what that means. That's not an industry. That's just like DEFCON. That's not an industry.
What I'd love to see is to get to the point where they're either their company or they're at an event where they're using your escape rooms that put them right back in their box. Brilliant.
It's really funny because I always think some CISOs, I see them. Some people who've said it to me, I've seen them like start their own business up, and I'm like, the penny's got to have dropped for you now. It's got to have done because you've started your own business. Oh, are you now doing sales? You now got to do marketing. Sorry, you're not in cyber though, are you? So
no. All of the things they're going to have to do though. Oh, I wonder, does the penny still even drop with some people? Like, it just. Yeah, it's not an exclusive market. It's not only for a handful of people just because they're the best of the best technical like developers or hackers or whatever it is. Like, it's, as an industry, it's sales. Like you say, everything about it is about selling or making money, whether you're hacking to make money or you're protecting yourself against it. But an industry that absolutely every single person that has any access to anything digital whatsoever has an interest in. It doesn't matter if it's a child or an adult or an old age pensioner or somebody who works as a carer. Everybody should have some sort of an interest in it. And it always frustrates me when we talk about cyber like it's only limited to the technical cyber teams. Like, they're the only ones that could possibly understand it, and they're the only ones that could possibly protect people from it, when the reality is, when you look at most of the attacks and most of the incidents, it's down to somebody who's more often than not one of those, not part of that team where the actual breach has begun as such. So everybody needs to know about it. And I rant about it all the time. It drives me mad. We need to bring more human into it. Everybody needs to understand it. And any more creative ways of thinking about it, such as what you do, I think are a great way of bridging that kind of gap between the Dems and us and the gatekeepers of it. Like, there's too much at risk, basically, for that. When you look at cybersecurity, because I think you have a very unique viewpoint then, because you're in the industry and you're in so many different types of business that are also in the cybersecurity industry then too. Do you think, looking at it from the outside, and I guess and from the inside then as well, things have changed when it comes to like the diversity side of it and women's roles in tech and in cyber and in those parts of companies? Or do you think there still is change that's needed?
So I do often wonder about when we see these statistics about this is how many women are in tech. Are we just saying in technical roles? Because
usually it's
I work in the human side of cyber. I can tell you now, I think I talk to more women than men on a daily basis.
Really? That's great to hear.
Security awareness teams are run by women, primarily, in most big organisations that I talk to.
Yeah.
Or the women have played an influential part in it. I was at National. Where was I the other week? BAE.
Oh yeah.
I think the room was 50-50 men and women, and that was their security awareness team.
What I find is at the ground level, all of the ones that are doing all the implementation and the response and stuff, there is more equality than there was before. But the higher up the chain you get, it's less and less. And I don't know.
I think it depends whether we're talking about cybersecurity teams in big organisations. So, like, I don't know, look at HMRC. They're not a cybersecurity company, but they're like head of cyber skills is a woman.
Yeah.
I think there's a difference, because I think other industries or other organisations have got better track records than we have. If you look at cybersecurity companies, yeah, they're fucking shit in terms of female leadership. That's just a fact.
To be fair, it is. And then there's often a tendency in cybersecurity companies to count all employees under the technical numbers for the roles then too. So you'll find that they'll be like, we've 40% female to male, but if you actually look at the entire workforce, 40% of the workforce are marketing and, I don't know, payroll or something.
They still work in cyber.
They're still in the industry, but when they're looking at the statistics around the technical people, then that gets, it's not clear what they're doing.
I don't necessarily think, maybe it's just because I'm not fucking interested in the tech at all. Does it need to be? It doesn't need to be equal. I don't think it needs to be equal, because I do think women, in my experience and the women that I know, gravitate more naturally towards the human side of stuff.
Yeah.
Marketing, sales, anything that involves talking to people rather than talking to computers. Women seem to be better at. So if they gravitate more naturally towards that, I think that's fine. But it doesn't mean that their skills should be deemed any less worthy. And that's the thing that bothers me. I don't mind there being less women. Don't fucking sit there and tell me that my job in marketing is worth less than your job in fucking pen testing, because you wouldn't have a pen testing job if I wasn't doing the fucking marketing for it.
Yes, absolutely. I found that I've seen an increase, but like say, I personally haven't seen it getting high enough yet, in whether it's in tech companies, in cybersecurity companies, in the cybersecurity industry, but I have seen more and more of it. And then I've sadly seen a couple of people too. I remember a lady who was over a big insurance company who talked about how important it was to be in the office in order to be promoted at work. And and which was the way she had angled it was basically you need to be seen to be at work, and then therefore you could be considered for a promotion. If you're not seen, then why would anybody think of promoting you?
And
Where
I
at
think,
the
but that does that not go back to what we said? What I was talking about earlier. You do need to be seen. I'm not saying you need to be seen in the office,
yes,
but
you
you need
need
to
to
be
make sure
seen.
people know.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you don't have to be physically seen to do it.
and I think people confuse that. I think people think you have to be physically seen because they can't construe any other way that you could get seen.
Yes, and she was explicitly talking about that they have to be in the office.
Yeah, that's
We
just
want
silly.
them in the office. Whereas personally, like I go into the office, but usually because I haven't seen anyone in ages, I end up getting a hell of a lot less done because I'm answering questions or yapping about whatever projects are ongoing and keeping up with things. But I'd get a lot more done at work because I also don't have to do a 4-hour commute and I'm better rested then when I have to get up and do it. But statistically, the women are more likely to fall behind if that was true. If that was actually true, where they say that you're not going to get promoted if you're not physically in the office, then we all know that statistically the women are more likely to be the ones at home dropping things for kids and all of that kind of stuff too. Let me see. I have one more. Well, I actually don't. I have one more after this one more. If there was somebody breaking into cybersecurity, I always get asked this question and I always feel that I should ask it. Well, actually, I don't ask everybody, but I want to ask you anyway. If somebody said they wanted to break into the industry tomorrow, and we call it the industry now as opposed to just the technical part of it, then what would you recommend that they do or don't do in order to get into it?
Network.
Yeah. It's that simple, isn't it?
Yeah, I've done a talk on this before. I did it at University West of England though. I was a guest lecturer there actually. I did a talk and I said if you want a job, don't fucking apply for one. Just go against the entire all of your body's going hit apply on that thing. Don't fucking hit apply because every other dickhead in the world has also hit apply. Some of them are going to have well better qualifications than you've got. Some of them will have been doing this shit in their sleep since they were like 5 years old. Don't know. There's like super nerds out there, isn't there? Loads of people are applying for the same role. So how do you make yourself stand out? Don't be a piece of paper. You don't need to make yourself stand out by not being a piece of paper. So I always say to people, go and find the hiring manager or someone in that team that's very close to the hiring manager, either geographically or like line reporting wise, and message them and say, I've seen the job. I've got a few questions about it. Can I just have a quick 5-10 minutes just to answer some questions? Even if you've got no questions, fucking make some up. Just make some up. And then go, have your conversation. Listen to what the person's saying. Are there any words that might be useful? Any things that they're saying that might be useful in your cover letter? And then say, brilliant, look out for my CV.
Yeah.
Because now you're a person.
Yeah.
Everyone else's CV is just a 2D piece of paper. You're a 3D person with a face.
Yeah. And it makes such a massive difference. Like, doesn't I find as well, if you've built a network too, then, and even if you don't know a person really, really well, but you know somebody who works in the company, in many cases, they're happy to refer in if they know you at all.
Yeah, because they get a bonus. They get a bonus for referring in because they don't want to get companies don't want to pay recruitment fees.
Exactly, and then you get past the ATS system because the ATS system is a personal hate of mine. Like, it doesn't see people. I'm big into seeing people for what they're capable of doing as opposed to what their piece of paper tells me that they're capable of doing. And I can't get in front of 100 candidates if that's how many have applied. But I'd rather look at 100 CVs than allow an ATS to strip it out.
Yeah.
It's how I would feel about it. So
I'd also recommend looking at small businesses. They've got less money. I mean, some of them got no fucking money. They've got a lot less money, but if you can stick it out for 2 years, you'll learn more in a small business in 2 years than you ever will in a big one.
True. Because you get more involved in everything if it's small too.
Because it's like literally all hands on deck all the time. Cool. You've just started pen testing. Well, you're also going to have to fucking learn about this as well. Cool. You're really good at social media marketing. Great. Well, I actually need someone who can design a fucking website as well. So off you go. Go learn about it.
It's true, actually. It's true. When I started in Tenable, we were a couple of weeks afterwards, we celebrated our 500th employee. And I was the first one on the ground in Ireland. So I got to meet every single person that started in the Irish office then after that and tell them what was what. And as our American colleagues came over to visit, I showed them around because many of them hadn't been to Ireland before. And like say, over the next 9 years, like I got to know who, not only who's who within the company, but who used to be who. So when we needed to know questions about how things used to work, or where things might be, I remember that person used to do that, even though now they do this. But and they've all moved off to different companies now, which has naturally created all these other networks and connections too, and it's been fascinating. I have one more question for you that's just for fun, really, is if you could change or add any one thing to your day-to-day to make it better, what would it be?
That's a weird question. I quite like that. Change or add? I just more time. I just want more time. There's not enough time in the fucking day. Can I have that?
Meet your sister. Yeah, I wish.
Someone could give me just a couple of extra hours. I mean, I'd probably use it to sleep, to be honest, because I'm so sleep deprived. It's unreal. But I just having 2 extra hours would be great.
Wouldn't it? And well, if you wouldn't, though. If you had another 2 extra hours, you'd be like, oh, actually, I could get this other project done now as well.
How many things? I have a tab open for all of the projects that I'm working on, and there's like 30, and I'm like, for fuck's sake.
No pressure then. Yeah, you're going to have a busy afternoon. So, look, Amy, I really appreciate it. That was like the fastest time ever, and I've had so much fun. And thank you so much for taking some time out today to do this.
Oh, thank you very much. That's been awesome.